All right, this is Patrick Devine for week 2 of Ed Cawthorn's object-oriented programming class. So this week we had to make a use diagram and a use case diagram and a sequence diagram for our encryption machine. This is pretty simple and straightforward. So the use cases are basically they're examples of how the user is actually going to use the system. So the things that they can actually do to the system or with the system or access. Like some of the examples, they were showing like a bank user at an ATM and a login, checking your balance, transferring, withdrawing, simple things like that would be examples of use cases for an actor, which these little stick figures are the actors. These circles are the use cases. I actually was supposed to make these circles, but I forgot to. But these are use cases as well. So I'll go through with this. So for the system user, our two use cases are going to be entering a message to be encrypted or entering a message to be decrypted. So once this message is entered, if it's to be encrypted, the characters are going to have to be verified against a list of characters that we put in an array somewhere. If not, we're going to have an error message displayed and output back to the user. If they want to decrypt, the message is just going to go in, get decrypted, and come back to the user. So the way that I did this, just to make it simple for myself, and for the sake of explaining, is I figured that the nitty-gritty, the classes that were actually doing a lot of the behind the scenes work that the user is not going to know about, I put this right in the middle, like the heart of the engine or something. And this is where the shifting and the swap and the shift back and swap back and all that stuff is going to happen. So the user doesn't really need to know all that. They just need to know I'm entering a message that I want encrypted, I'm messaging a message that I want decrypted. And this is where the process is really going to happen. This is the verification. Now, this actor over here is going to be a system administrator. So they're going to interact with the system differently than the user, obviously. They're going to have much more privileges, and they're going to be able to access more sensitive system changes and adjustments, whatever. So here, quite similar to this, I just put a use case right here, which should have been a circle, for making system adjustments. Now, the system admin can make the adjustments, and they can either make adjustments that are going to be adjusted here, down here in the main system, like where the detailed math function is happening, or they're going to be able to change the verification, the array list, and make changes to the error message if they need to. Up here, I put another use case, utilities and forgotten stuff. I just threw that there because I figured the system admin would probably have a bunch of functions that they had used during the creation of this. So it's a place for code that they may use to make adjustments. Anything that the admin is going to need to mess with this system is they're just going to throw it in this little use case over here that I called utilities forgotten stuff, which technically I guess isn't a use case as much as it's storage for tools that the admin might use. So let's head on over to the sequence diagram. All right, so the sequence of events here I have laid out. It makes sense to me. But all right, so say we're going to start with the system user. when the system user uses the system, they're going to enter a message. It doesn't matter what, if they want to be encrypting a message or decrypting a message, it doesn't matter to the user. They're entering the same. They're entering characters, you know. So the validation would be the next step. You know, it's going to be checked. Well, I'll get into that because that technically, I guess that has nothing to do with the user itself. The user will just be entering a message, seeing that the validation is confirmed. The message will then be either encrypted or decrypted, and bam, output back to the user following this line here. Now, the system is going to accept the message into it. Then it's going to shoot it down here to the validation. It's going to check the validation against an array of characters. If it checks out, it's going to continue forward with the encryption decryption process. If not, then right here we're going to have an error message that's sent back to the output. That'll be output to the user. If the validation passes and everything's cool, then we're going to pass the information right along to the actual validation encryption process, where it'll be swapped and shifted and scrambled and made so it's very secure and uncrackable. So yeah, so both of these, the error message and the output for the encrypted decrypted message, both have the potential to be output back to the user depending on the case. And here I did similar to the use case. We have a system administrator. They're simply enough just going to be able to make system adjustments. So that's kind of what I threw together for the sequence diagram. That was a bit harder for me to understand than the use case diagram because they seem similar in a lot of ways. You know, and a lot of the same components, just kind of, I guess, put together a little differently. And I was working on my Raspberry Pi, so I don't have it on my laptop right here. But I've been working on some code, trying to get the input and just the names of the objects that I'm going to be using put together. So I'm gonna try to get some screenshots or something and save them as an RTF and upload those too. But as far as my diagrams this week, we have the use case right here and sequence diagram. And I think that's it. So over and out.